I tried eating one meal a day for 7 days while managing Hashimoto's disease to see if fasting could possibly help heal my thyroid or whether or not it would make my symptoms worse. So I'm going to share with you the highs and the lows and why I decided to adjust my plan. So whether you are dealing with an autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's or some other chronic illness, be sure to stick around to find out if fasting can be a powerful tool or possibly a huge mistake. So I am Brandy, and if this is your first time to the channel, I am on a mission to heal Hashimoto's disease naturally and affordably. And as part of this process, my first step is to try fasting. So this is my first full week on OMAD, where I just ate one meal a day for 7 days. And this is part of an experiment I'm going to try for like 30 to 45 days to see if it improves my thyroid symptoms. And to be honest, it was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be, especially the first few days. I really struggled. So I did decide to adjust my plan, and I am going to share with you exactly how I adjusted the plan and why. So I decided to start with diet and fasting because I believe these two things can have the biggest impact on a person's health. I know personally that poor eating habits were a huge trigger in my Hashimoto's disease, and in the past, when I have cleaned up my diet and eaten better, my symptoms typically get better as well. And now more than ever, I believe that it's not just about what I eat, but when I eat. So if, diet and fasting does not, solve all my problems, I still believe that they are a very important step in the healing process. So there is a lot of controversy surrounding fasting, especially for people who have thyroid issues like Hashimoto's. There are experts who will say that it's a stress on the body, and it can cause extra stress on the thyroid, which is already under a lot of stress in diseases like Hashimoto's. It can also tax your adrenals, and the adrenals tend to be worn out with those of us who have chronic illnesses. It also can lead to nutrient deficiencies, where it can be very difficult to get enough like selenium, zinc, B vitamins, and protein, which are all critical to thyroid health. So fasting can possibly be more issues for women. It can disrupt our hormones and our menstrual cycles and possibly cause more hair loss and anxiety. Even some experts who think fasting is great will discourage women from fasting during certain times in their cycles. So you might be wondering, why the heck am I even considering fasting? It seems like there's a lot of risk and potential problems, but there is a whole nother side to the controversy. There are some doctors, nutritionists, and health coaches out there who think that fasting can not only improve your symptoms, but possibly even reverse chronic illnesses like Hashimoto's. So who is right? To help me decide, I apply what I call the Mother Nature test. So this is when I ask, in nature, would this make sense? And in the case of fasting, absolutely. There would have been a time in nature where food was not always available and our bodies were designed to handle that. Then what about women? Should we be careful and not fast during certain times of our cycle? Well, that to me didn't make any sense either. So nature doesn't make exceptions. There wasn't some built-in rule that food magically appeared when a woman was getting ready to start her period. Either food was available or it wasn't. Our bodies were designed to handle that. Nature would have given us the clarity and the energy to go out and find food, not left us too exhausted and too weak. So I know that modern day life has created a whole new set of challenges. We are exposed to more toxins, we have poor diets, we don't get enough sleep, and we're under constant stress. But I believe that the key to healing is to reconnect with how our bodies were designed to function. And yes, I do have some concerns about fasting. I worry that it could possibly make my symptoms worse, but I decided to take it slow, monitor my symptoms, and really listen to my body because there are so many potential benefits to fasting. I really wanted to give it a try. So studies have shown that fasting can reduce inflammation, which can be a key driver in autoimmune diseases. It can also improve insulin sensitivity by balancing blood sugar and lowering insulin levels. Fasting can also help heal your gut. By giving your body a break from constantly digesting food, it gives your gut lining a chance to heal, and that can help with things like leaky gut, digestive issues, and food sensitivities. Now, I never feel good after I eat, and it doesn't seem to matter what I eat. I'm always left feeling tired, sluggish, and I get acid reflux. I just kind of seem to be sensitive to everything I eat. So hopefully giving my gut time to heal will make me less reactive to foods, and it will help with some of my symptoms like fatigue and heartburn. So fasting also triggers autophagy, which is one of its most powerful benefits. This is where fasting kind of triggers your body's natural ability to clean out damaged cells, remove waste, and regulate your immune system. Then, of course, fasting is an extremely effective way to lose weight. This seems to be why most people end up trying fasting, is they're looking to lose some weight. And those of us with Hashimoto's and other chronic illnesses tend to struggle with weight. Now, I personally am not really trying to lose weight, but I would like to lose some inches like in my belly, butt, and thighs. This seems to be where I hold most of my weight. And some people who have done fasting say that they don't necessarily lose weight at first, but they do lose inches. So I am hoping to kind of shift my body composition and slim down in some of those more stubborn areas. But if you are somebody looking to lose weight, fasting is not only one of the most effective ways to do it, but is also one of the most sustainable ways to do it. There's also a lot of conflicting information out there about what causes chronic illnesses like Hashimoto's. Some think it's diet, stress, toxins, poor sleep, infections, and more than likely it's a combination of all of these things. So fasting really can help address all these issues at once. By giving our body a break, it gives it time to heal and to detox. It also strengthens our immune system so we can fight infections like Candida and H. pylori. I recently saw a video on a woman who had been struggling with a toenail fungus for over 10 years. In just a few weeks of doing OMAD, just eating one meal a day, it completely disappeared. And I really found this fascinating because I have known some people who struggle with toenail fungus, and it is very difficult to get rid of. So it just kind of really showed me the power of the fasted state. And unfortunately, in modern day life, we are very rarely in a fasted state, and we really need this break for our bodies to kind of heal, detox, and to thrive. So fasting can also simplify life. Fewer meals means less planning, prepping, and obsessing about food. I really love this because I feel like a lot of my time is spent thinking about food and planning what I'm going to eat next. So you can also save money by fasting. Eating less often means spending less. So groceries can be really expensive. Packaged pre-processed foods tend to be a lot cheaper. But if you want to eat things like grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, wild-caught seafood, and organic produce, then your grocery bill can, double or even possibly triple. So by eating less often, I can afford to invest in better quality food without adding any additional financial stress. It can really help offset the higher grocery costs. So why did I choose to do OMAD, just one meal a day? Because there are other popular fasting methods out there. There's 16-8, where you kind of fast for 16 hours and you eat in an 8-hour window, or there's 18-6, where you fast for 18 hours and you eat in a 6-hour window. So I chose OMAD because longer fasts offer deeper healing benefits. By giving the body a longer break, it gives it more time for autophagy, improving insulin sensitivity, and burning fat. During longer fasts, people also experience better mental clarity, better appetite control, and they seem to have less cravings. Plus, I really just love the simplicity of just having to plan and prepare one meal each day. Now, I am not a doctor. This is just my personal journey. So if you are considering fasting, especially something like OMAD that can be a little more intense, it's really important that you listen to your body and that you check with your doctor. Everyone is different, and what works for me may not work for you. So if you have any chronic health conditions or you're taking medications, especially for diabetes, it is important that you check with your doctor because fasting may affect your medication and how your body responds to it. So you might need to be monitored by a doctor so they can kind of adjust your treatment as needed. So throughout this process, I am not, tracking macros, counting calories, or measuring out my food. I'm just taking a look at my plate and make sure it has a healthy balance of protein, healthy fats, non-starchy carbohydrates, and then some starchy carbohydrates from things like fruits and vegetables. And I'm not being real strict about what I eat, but I am trying to focus on real, whole, nutrient-dense foods. And I'm trying to limit things like caffeine, alcohol, sugar, dairy, refined carbs, and ultra-processed foods. And instead, I'm focusing on things like meat, chicken, seafood, and fruits and vegetables. So I don't have to give up coffee or caffeine when I am fasting. There are lots of people out there that still enjoy their morning cup of coffee or tea, as long as it doesn't have any sugar or cream in it. But caffeine's kind of a tricky one for me. It does seem to have a negative effect on how I feel. It can make me anxious and irritable, and it can disrupt my sleep. Caffeine can also interfere with your body's ability to absorb nutrients, and that is a big concern for me when I am only eating one meal a day. I want to make sure that I am getting the proper nutrition. So I am not going to give up caffeine, but I am going to limit it to 1 cup or less each day. I am also going to limit alcohol, not only because it's high in sugar, but it also seems to impact my food choices. Once I've had a drink or two, I seem to care less about what I'm eating. And also limiting caffeine and alcohol also gives me a good read on my body on how it's really feeling. I want to know that how I am feeling is due to like fasting or diet and not because of the effects of alcohol or caffeine. So a lot of people do not even change their diet at all when they are fasting. They kind of eat whatever they want, but I get really concerned about getting enough nutrients. So I am going to focus on high quality foods to kind of keep my blood sugar balanced and keep me from getting exhausted. I feel like a lot of people who struggle with fasting are people who are not eating like nutrient dense, well balanced meals. If my one meal a day is fast food, cookies, and candy, I'm probably not going to feel that great. Now, one thing I did pick up is a box of ketone strips. So you can get these at Walmart. They're just under $7 for 50 strips. They are a simple and budget-friendly way of seeing if your body is in ketosis. This happens often when you are fasting and your body starts burning fat for fuel. They are very simple to use. You just dip the strip in urine and you can compare it to the chart to kind of see where you're at. They are very convenient and much cheaper than a blood ketone meter, which can cost about $30 to $60, and then it's $1 or $2 for each strip, which can really add up if you are testing every day. So blood ketone meters are more accurate because they actually test the ketones in your blood. But ketone strips are great for beginners or anyone who just kind of wants to casually track their ketones. Just keep in mind that the ketone strips become less reliable as your body gets more efficient at using ketones. So the urine strips are great because they're easy and more affordable and great for beginners. The blood meter is more accurate and a lot better for more serious long-term tracking. Now, of course, you don't need the ketone strips or the blood meter in order to fast. They are a simple and inexpensive way for me to kind of track how my body is doing with fasting, and they also help me stay motivated. So now we're going to get into how I did the first week. I am not going to lie, the first week was really intense. There were lots of ups and downs. For the first 3 days, I tried to eat one meal around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but I really struggled and felt miserable. I was really exhausted and weak, and I really found it difficult to get enough nutrition in one meal. I would get full really quickly, but then I would keep forcing food in to try to make sure I got enough calories each day. Even though I'd be really stuffed, I'd get really hungry again about an hour or two later, and I couldn't eat again because I had already had my one meal for the day. So I was going from, obsessing and thinking about food all day long to then cramming food in and feeling overly stuffed and sick after eating. So I decided it would be best to adjust my plan, and I extended my window to where I would eat like 2 meals in a 4-hour window, and I planned on my meals being around 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So after extending my window, hunger and cravings would still be intense at times, but it definitely helped. I started having some really good moments where I felt clear-headed, I had great energy, and I could go a really long time without getting hungry. But even after extending my eating window, I was still experiencing hot flashes, acid reflux, and muscle spasms. I also felt extra irritable and anxious at times, and I was not sleeping well. I was waking up throughout the night feeling kind of restless and anxious. Now, this is not unusual for me, but it was definitely a lot worse than it usually is. There were nights where I'd wake up at 2 a.m. and I couldn't fall back to sleep. So some of the key takeaways this week are I am really trying to be patient with myself and really listen to my body. It is going to take my body some time to get used to a lifetime of glucose burning and burning sugar for energy, to being fat adapted and burning fat for energy. So at first I was really miserable, having intense cravings, and I was exhausted. But instead of kind of just pushing through and torturing myself, I just really listened to my body and adjusted my plan. And that made fasting a lot more enjoyable. So that one small change made a huge difference. It was the line between feeling good and being inspired to continue, or being miserable and wanting to quit. So I'm still having some tough moments, but I've had some really good ones too that are kind of inspiring me to continue on. So the good days and the good moments are really good signs that maybe fasting is the right thing for me, and if I just give it a little bit longer, it could be really great and help relieve a lot of my thyroid symptoms. So the other thing I realized through this, eating like healthy whole foods can really seem very bland and restrictive at first, especially if you're used to a diet high in sugary processed foods. But I did kind of find a simple trick to kind of help me get through this, and that is spices. But instead of adding the spices to my meals when I cook them, I just make big batches of foods like, chicken, meat, and seafood. And then that kind of, I have a lot of food prepped. And then after, when I'm ready to eat the meals, I just kind of add the spices then. And that kind of switches it up for me. So I can add some Mexican spices, or I can add some Italian herbs, and that kind of changes the flavor of the food. So really, I'm just kind of cooking these big, kind of basic sorts of foods, but I'm really changing the flavor with some spices. So this simple trick kind of helped me avoid getting bored with my meals, and it also helped me cut down on prep time. So it made my meals a lot more enjoyable and made it easier for me to stick to the whole foods diet. If you want to see the types of meals I am eating throughout this process, I am going to show some pictures and make a list of all the ingredients that I have in each of those meals, and I am going to put them at the end of this video if you want to check those out. So my goals for moving forward is I do want to continue fasting, and I do want to work my way up to 1 meal a day, but I am going to do it more slowly so that it's more enjoyable and it's not torture for me. So over the next couple of weeks or a few weeks, I am going to just kind of stick with my 4-hour window and eating 2 meals during that time, and give my body time to become more fat adapted, so that when I do want to give the 1 meal a day a try again, hopefully it's going to be a lot easier and more sustainable. I'm also going to work on being more mindful, because I have realized that my thoughts are constantly trying to justify old habits. I want to be sure that the choices I make are based on what I really need to do and not just my old way of thinking. It can be really tricky to tell the difference, so I have to really try to be aware and be more mindful. So one of the bigger things I struggled with this week was sleep. My sleep was definitely worse. So this week coming up, I really have to focus on ways of getting better rest. I really need to have my thyroid levels tested again and make sure that my medication is properly dosed. Some of the symptoms I'm experiencing, like poor sleep, irritability, and anxiety, can be because my thyroid hormone is too high. This has happened to me in the past, and once my medication was reduced, my symptoms got a lot better. I felt a lot calmer, my sleep got better, and because of all that, a lot of my other symptoms improved also. Now, if my labs come back normal, then that will kind of tell me that I do just need to kind of work on other things to help me sleep, like better sleep habits, better routines at night. So I will kind of focus on those things if my labs come back normal. So moving forward, I still plan to focus on minimally processed whole foods that'll help keep my blood sugar stable and ensure that I get the proper nutrition. So I am going to continue to track what I eat, when I eat, how I'm sleeping, my energy level, and my symptoms, just so I can kind of, fine-tune my plan and make any necessary adjustments. Now, if you are on a similar health journey, I would love to hear about your experiences. Drop a comment below and let me know what strategies have worked for you. And let me know if you've tried fasting or any other dietary changes to feel better. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can kind of join me on my journey to better health. I am really excited to continue this journey with you. Together we can support each other in making these changes, and we can help each other stay motivated. Thank you so much for watching, and take care of yourself and listen to your body, and I will see you in the next video.